All right, good morning, or more likely good afternoon for all you guys, and so we're targeting this for the European audience. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever is appropriate for your appropriate time zone. And welcome to our part one of this three-part webinar series that Kent and I are delivering for y'all, Maximizing Configuration Manager for the Modern World. And part one, today's session is on what's new and trending in enterprise client management. My name is Wally Mead. I'm a principal program manager with Cireson. I've been with Cireson for about 3.5 years after spending 22 years at Microsoft primarily in the configuration manager product group. So I've been around for quite a while now. And my esteemed colleague here who will be presenting half of our session today is Mr. Kent Agerland. Kent, want to introduce yourself quick?
Absolutely. Thanks. Thanks a lot for having me here, Wally. So my name is Kent Agerland, and I've been with CT Global, formerly known as Cortec, for the last 17 years, primarily working and focusing on enterprise client management. I haven't been working with Configuration Manager as long as Wally has, but I've been along since SMS 1.2. Yeah, we're here to share some of our knowledge and experience with you, and we look forward to that.
Yeah, so thanks everyone for joining us, and I'm sure you guys have all heard Kent. He's one of the premier configuration manager dudes in the world. We're both Microsoft MVPs in enterprise client management, and you'll see Kent around on the forums and presenting all over the world. So you're in good luck for being here in today's webinar. So let me just do a couple real quick housekeeping things, and then we'll get you going. So our session is being recorded, so you don't have to ask us if it is being recorded. It is being recorded, and we'll make sure, at least on our site, we go ahead and post it to our Vimeo.com channel. So go to vimeo.com/Team Cireson, and this will be posted probably tomorrow, certainly by the end of the week. And if Kent wants to have a post on his site, we can get that to him as well. So you guys are all in listen-only mode, so you won't be able to interact verbally. However, if you do have any questions throughout the presentation, please feel free to go ahead and punch them into the questions panel that you have in your GoToWebinar interface. And I usually look at questions at the end of the session, otherwise it distracts me throughout. So just plan on we'll handle the questions at the end. So what that means to you is when you ask a question throughout, please put a little context about the question as to where you're asking it. Just don't say, why not? And then at the end of the presentation, we see why not. It's not going to give us any context as to what we might have said then. So if you do that, that would help us out greatly. So again, we'll go through a couple of presentations. Kent will do his stuff, and then I'll do mine, and we'll do questions at the end. So feel free to ask questions as you have them, and we'll take care of those. We may go slightly over our allotted time, but that's pretty normal for anything I'm involved with if you've been around in any of my presentations. But again, we will record all the questions as well if you do happen to drop off early. So with that, I'm now going to kick it over to Kent, let him do his stuff on enterprise client management. Kent, the floor is yours. Let me change presenter, and there you go. You should be good to go now. You can share your screen.
See here it on. I actually cannot share my screen here.
You cannot share your screen there. Interesting. That's going to make things a little difficult if you can't. It should with the, it says you are, yeah, presenter, so nothing on the show screen. Or I can show your slides, but that's not going to help you out for your demos.
No, it's going to be, that will be, make it a little bit boring. So, yeah, the show screen is actually not, it's not visible here. Oh, it's still like it's grayed out.
Okay, I've got, it's grayed out for me, but that's because I'm not presenter now. So, but it does say that you are the presenter. Let me go ahead and make it, take me back to the presenter. And then yep. I got the share screen, and yes, I do have that option to share screen. So let me try changing back over to Kent as an organizer and say yes. And so now I got the blanks, go to webinar title slide, and it says you are presenter.
My end here, it says waiting to view Wally's screen.
And mine says waiting to view Kent Agerland's screen. Cool. Okay. And Thomas says it does on his as well. Hopefully he means, since again we both said something, hopefully it means it says waiting to view Kent's screen, which it does. Kent, yep, he does agree with that. It says waiting to view Kent's screen. Let me see, is there any other settings? I don't see any other settings that I can set to change this. Sharing. So it's Kent's fault. Thank you, Thomas. I like that. Not mine.
That's fine. I can take it.
Well, I don't know anything else in here to do because I don't see any other buttons or options or anything for. Yep, it's got you as the presenter and it's waiting to share your screen. So, okay. Well, if you want, I can pop up your slide deck and we can do that. But again, that's going to make it a little more difficult for your demo portion.
Just 2 seconds here. What
okay.
It could be.
And for those of you just joining us, we're having a screen sharing issue right now. So just hang on there. We'll try and get this guy ironed out. Guess we should have tried that before we started, but done this numerous times and it's always worked. So.
Makes no difference. So we just tried a couple of things here at our end. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you. It sounds like you're in a fishbowl now, but.
Let me try and sign out and sign back in again because this worked, just before. So I'll leave you alone for a couple of seconds here.
Okay, so while Kent is troubleshooting, welcome again, everyone. Those of you who just joined us, we're just having a minor little issue with Kent's not able to share his screen for some reason, but looks like now I'm in charge since Kent signed out. At worst case, I can share his slides, but I don't have his demos hooked up in my environment. But we can do that, and I can always we can always do my portion first if we need to make sure that we keep you guys going and not wasting time here. And if that doesn't work when he comes right back, then we'll go ahead and go with just his slides until we can figure out that end of things. So hopefully y'all are having a fantastic day wherever you are. It's cold and dark here in Seattle, Washington. Oh, wow. When he signs out, he must really be signing out like rebooting his entire computer because he's not back yet. Well, just in the event that he does not able to show, let me go ahead and load his slides. So I've got them and we can do that if we need to. So I've got his slides ready to roll. And now just waiting for Kent to come on back. Which he's not there yet. Hopefully he's not having internet or other type of issues. Because I'm not seeing him sign back in yet. Oh, Kent, where are you? People want to hear you. I apologize, everyone. I don't know what's happened to Kent. We'll give him another moment, and if he doesn't come back, I'll just go ahead and kick over to my part and do what I was going to do and see if he gets back in our session, and he can then do his stuff at the end. And as of right now, I'm not seeing him, so let's go ahead and do that. So let me go ahead and jump over and do, oh, there comes Kent. I see him joining back in now. So we'll give him 1 second to get fully into the system. Hey there, Kent.
Hey, so now everything restarted.
Okay.
And a new browser just to make sure. So.
Okay. I just made you presenter again, so.
There you go. So now you can see my screen.
We can. I can see your something in, I assume. Oh, there you go. All right. So we're good.
So I almost dare not to say that I changed my browser from something to Google, and now it works. So sorry about that. I'm pretty sure Wally kept you entertained. So just I'll do this quickly because I mean you have been waiting now. So as Wally said in the introduction, I'm working for CT Global. CT Global is a global enterprise client consulting company. We specialize in enterprise client management, visualization, and the entire Azure automation cloud platform. And we have offices around the world here. That's enough about that. So what's new and updated in the current release that we have in 1706? I'm going to cover some of the trends that I'm seeing and some of the features that I've already enabled at numerous customers, and that I know they have been running with success, and some of them have also changed the way that they're actually dealing with the enterprise client management. Just show a couple of slides, and then I'll be doing demos for the most part. So some of the new features in 1706, and 1706, as you are, most of you are aware, is the latest release that we have. It's been around for a couple of weeks and already has a hotfix. So make sure you install that hotfix, especially if you're working with the PeerCache technology. So for me, this version here brings a couple of interesting new features. First of all, as I see it, Office 365 management, the story is now complete. I'm going to show you what I mean about that. Client PeerCache is a technology that is constantly being updated, and that's also as I mentioned, the hotfix that was released earlier last week actually addresses some issues found in the PeerCache technology. But now PeerCache also supports Express updates for Windows 10 and also Office updates, which is kind of nice. Another big enhancement in the way PeerCache is working is that we do not any longer use the network access account to authenticate, and that part is important because as some of you probably know, the network access account information, that being password and username, encrypted though, is stored in WMI on all of your systems. So not having to use that is a great security enhancement here. Then we have the data warehouse. The data warehouse is a feature that was introduced as a pre-release feature in the previous version, and already now made it into become a full feature in here. And I mean, the data warehouse is a feature that has been requested for many years. Whenever we go on site to a customer, they often ask us about, so what about history? How can I compare my compliance data with the one I had, last year? So it has been something we have, been wondering, wondering about how can we fix this? And now it's here. There are like 7 or 8 built-in reports, but all the data is now in a data warehouse database. So meaning you can easily create your own Power BI dashboards. You can create your own reports, everything without touching the production database. So that's really neat. I'll be demonstrating. I'll be demonstrating that. So some of the other features that I see in here that has a huge impact on how we design a hierarchy is the fallback configuration for software update points in boundary groups. Again, many times you go out, you set up a new environment, and you talk about boundary groups and distribution points and neighbors and all of that good stuff, and then the customer is asking about, so how do I control my software update points? And let's be fair, the more or less the only way you can do that in the past, and the past would be pre-1706, was to set up a secondary side. And often we don't want to set up a secondary side. So having the software update points now honoring the boundary group is really a nice feature, and something I was grateful that the product team was able to fix here. So now we can support the management points, the distribution points, and the software update points, and also the state migration points. But the state migration point, in my opinion, is just a kind of like a distribution point, except that we also upload content to that one. So with that, let's just do a quick little demo here, and those of you who know Wally and I, we love questions, so you're more than welcome to ask any questions during the demo here. So the first thing I want to show in here is, and this is a 1706 with the hotfix installed, and you can see here I installed the hotfix September 12th here. So this is a recent hotfix. Do you need to go ahead and install it? Well, it really depends on, you can see here in this KB article if you're, what issues it's actually addressing, and the issues are around the peer caching client. So if you don't have any, if you're not using that feature yet, you don't have to install the hotfix unless it addresses something else that impacts you. So if I go to my software library and I look at my Office 365 client management, so Office 365 or Office as an application is something I'm pretty sure all of you have been deploying in the past. Now the new thing here is the integration. The integration began back in 1606 of Configuration Manager, and they just kept on improving that. So some of the improvements we have right now is that I can control the Office 365 application. I don't have to create a group policy. I don't have to, create any settings anywhere. I can control everything from within Configuration Manager. So from this dashboard, if I wanted to, I can also go in and create the Office 365 application by using the built-in installer. And when I'm using the built-in installer here, it will actually take me through the entire process. So in here I can select my products, I can select my deployment rings, I can even create the deployment. So it will do everything also, including creating the XML file. And that's pretty neat. So it will also download the application. So you literally just start, from nothing. And if I just quickly demonstrate this, I'm not going to download it. So all I need here is just an empty folder. So let's just go to that one and then create an empty folder. Call it test. Test is a great name. So here I can specify whether or not I want to import some custom settings I've already created, an XML file, or I manually want to build my XML file. And this is where I build the XML file. So for those of you who are familiar with Office 365, you've done this, several times using the customization wizard. And I can go in and add additional products and say, okay, for Visio, we're actually using the standard edition volume license. We don't use the Office 365 license for that. What is my architecture and what is my channel? So I want to use, the deferred channel, and what build is it that I want to deploy? So in theory, you have to create a package or an application for each channel. in reality, you can actually create one application, and then you can create a configuration item to change the channel information, because the channel information is actually stored within the registry here. Add remove languages. I know most of you probably speak Danish, as it's a well-known, it's one of the world languages, I believe, so I'll just keep that. Do I want to deploy the application right now? And the answer to that is no, I don't want to do that. So if I hit next here, it will actually just go and download the application and make sure that I can deploy that in the enterprise. I'll just say no to that one. A couple of things you need to do if you want to maintain and manage the Office environment. When I go to my client settings in here, there is a setting in your software updates here where it says, do you want to enable management of the Office 365 client? You have to just select yes here. Once you have done that, you will see the Office 365 information in the dashboard, regardless of you used SCCM to install it or if you installed it manually. The other thing you might want to do, I highly recommend doing that, is also control software updates. So when I go in and configure my software update point here, I would go in and in my list of products, I would also here select my Office 365 client, like that. When I do that, you have to know that Office 365 client updates is not using the traditional Microsoft infrastructure. Configuration Manager will configure your distribution points to be the source and download and so on and so forth. But if the client is out there on the internet and try to find the update on Microsoft Updates, it will actually not find them because Office 365 are using another channel. But once the updates are within your SCCM infrastructure, it's business as usual. So that to me really changed the stuff. It made everything so much easier. If I'm looking at my boundary groups, and I look at my, I have one here for the HQ. When I look here in my references, in my relationships, let's just create a reference here to a XYZ. You'll see now I can go in and say, well, in here we're going to use this software update point, and it can fall over to the software update point in XYZ if after 10 minutes if we don't answer in here. Or you can simply say, well, this connection we have here, you can fall over, you can use the distribution point to fall over, but you can never use the software update point to fall over. So that will simplify your infrastructure and probably also allow you to create more than one software update point if you need that for fault tolerance or simply because you are, way over 25,000 clients. So that's another feature that I know has changed the way that I design my environment. The final one here, if I look in my monitoring node, I said here that we have some, let's see where I have you. Oh, just need to change my environment here. I have a couple of environments. So here you are, sorry about that. Let's just go back here. Get to this guy here. So when I change to my my monitoring node here, so in this environment here, you'll see I have a data warehouse category when I look at my reports, and in here I have my 7 data warehouse reports, and some of them, they're all pretty good, but I especially like this one here called Infrastructure Health Overview, where I see my historical data. So you can see, how many have been healthy. So I had a drop at one point. Otherwise, it looks like, 100% is okay. And the same goes with my AV compliance here. It looks like I'm 100% compliant. My content distribution. I mean, this is information that all of us really wants. And that's part of your data warehouse here. Setting up the data warehouse is I would say it's fairly simple. So it's just another site system role in here. There is not that much that you can configure. So SCCM will be configuring the views, you know, the data that is being replicated. So what you can configure in here is how you know, how often do you want to replicate your changes. Yeah. So those are some of the new features for demo number 1 here. Some of the other features that I like a lot is the ability to now control users and devices on the internet. So we traditionally call them road warriors. We got the Cloud Management Gateway as a pre-release feature back in December last year, and now they have constantly updated and improved the technology here. Now, one of the new features we have in 1706 is that I can use Azure AD. So if I already have my users out in Azure, I can actually sign in using my Azure AD user credentials, and then, you know, be authenticated that way. And this is not a complete story yet, but as it is today, we are ready to manage easily, I would say, manage the clients that you have on the internet. And why is it we want to do that? And what is it that we want to manage? Well, one of my big headaches that I have is management. And I don't think my manager is listening, so I can say that. But if I go in here and look at the dashboard that we have built here, then patch compliance. My manager constantly comes to me and say, Kent, why are you only 54% compliant? And the reason is, you know, we don't have 100% active clients. So I can see that over here. I'm looking at SCCM data. I only have, you know, 87% active clients. I have clients in a reboot pending mode. You know, the clients are not active because they're on the internet. So maybe some of them are traveling. They only, you know, come to the office once a month, something like that. So not being able to manage clients on the internet makes it really difficult for me to become compliant. Within SCCM, if you haven't seen the Cloud Management Gateway, then I have a client here. Let me show you. A client will automatically detect whether or not it's on the internet. So in here you can see my connection type is currently internet, and when the client is starting up, the agent is starting, it'll see if it can connect to a management point, if it can connect to a domain controller, and if not, it will just assume, you know what, I'm on the internet, and then it will start using the Cloud Management Gateway. The Cloud Management Gateway is automatically configured on the clients, so I didn't have to do anything here. And the Cloud Management Gateway is an Azure service, right? My main concern here is software updates. So just before we started the session here, I just went in, I ran a software update scan cycle and a software update deployment evaluation cycle, you know, just to verify that, hey, everything is actually working. And this one here is communicating to my on-prem software update point through by using the Azure service as a managed gateway. So if I go into my software center now, you'll see here I have an update available, and I can go ahead and click install on this update, and it will download the bits. It will not download the bits from a distribution point, because what I've done is I've said, well, can you please go ahead and use WSUS, so the Microsoft infrastructure, as your source from where you're downloading data, because I'm paying for data that I download from Azure. But why do I want to pay for updates that are already, you know, publicly available in Microsoft Updates? So I've configured SCCM to say, if you cannot find the updates internally, and right now it cannot find them internally because it's on the internet, please, you know, go ahead and use the Microsoft backbone here. And so this service, the Cloud Management Gateway, it will change the way that we are managing clients in the future. I have no doubt about that. Internet-based client management is something all of us want, but it has been really difficult to set up for most because we needed our own DMC environment, you know, certificates and what have you. Now the site can still be operating in HTTP mode, and all we have to do is, in quote unquote, just configure the Azure service here. Once I've configured the Azure service in the portal, I can go in and see, you know, how many connection points have I had. So 55,000 requests within the last 30 days, you know, and what services are actually running. And in here, you'll see once it's done loading, you'll see that it's running the management point and the software update point. This one here does not offer content. If I wanna deploy content, then I need to combine the cloud management gateway with a cloud distribution point here, and then I have a fully transparent client experience, you know, whether being on the intranet or the internet. So this one here is super interesting, and in 1706, as I mentioned, I can also go in and run an Azure Active Directory user discovery. So I've done that, and some of my users here, those of you who are working with Azure AD, you'll probably notice that, you know, here I have my fully qualified domain name. So this is my UPN for the users. This is super interesting, and more or less all the projects that I've done since December, we have been evaluating the cloud management gateway. With that, let me just go back here and finish up my part. A couple of additional things here. So another feature that I have is the ability to run PowerShell scripts directly from within the Config Manager console, and I had to use that last week, as a matter of fact. And now, so I have the demo because, you know, that was taken from my production environment. Running a PowerShell script is something we have been able to do for many years, right? You can create a package, you can create a configuration item, you know, add that to a baseline, and then just run your script. But the difference here is that I can run the script using the fast channel, and I can execute it right now in real time. I haven't been able to do that. The way that it works, and let's just have a look at my issue here. So I'll go into production, as a matter of fact. So I just discovered that I had a lot of bad MIF files, and bad MIF files, for those of you who are not working with, see here, if I go to my inboxes and go to my data loader box, and then under bad MIFs, you'll see that I have some bad MIF files. Now I don't have that many anymore because I cleaned up. But I was running. I had to run an inventory last week on all of my clients because we were extending inventory. We needed the data in right now. We couldn't wait the 3 days that we have in between each hardware scan here. And 30% of all my devices ended up in one of these folders, you know, delta mismatch, missing system class, and so on and so forth. And I've seen that happen lately, not only in my environment, but also in other environments. So what I've been doing to fix that is I simply go in and run this PowerShell script here, where I remove the hardware inventory data on the client. So by doing that, it will automatically run a full scan. Now I was in a bit of a hurry, so I needed some results like right now. So what I did was I went into Configuration Manager, and in the software library, I now have the scripts feature here. And you can actually see here from the date that it was September 9 here. So delete hardware inventory history. Spell history. That's Danish. Let's just say that. Here we are. So I'll just add in my script, or I will import the script here. So here in this feature here, I'm creating the script. Now I cheated a little bit because normally when I'm creating a script, I cannot approve the script. You can see here it says waiting for approval. But I changed that. Being a global administrator here, I can now go in and approve my own stuff. So I approved that. Approve the script. I, come up with a comment. I trust me. So should you. And here we are.
If it helps at all, Ken, I trust you.
Thanks a lot, sir. So now I can go into assets and compliance, and I can say, I want to run this against all desktops and server clients, or maybe I want to run it against a specific collection. The feature can run on any collection, right? Maybe I just want to run it against a single collection where we have the hardware inventory issues. So right-click my collection, and then I can execute the script here. And this script will now run in real time. And so the difference here between running it here and as a package is I'll get the result, the impact immediately. So if I make a mistake, I'll be making that mistake so much faster in the production environment here. Now it's all fixed. That will give me time to go in and add it to a package, and create all of that and test and so on and so forth. But now when I go to my monitoring node, and look at my my settings in here, then you can see here I have my script status. Then you'll see that it's returning with the name of the devices. So demo history here. I mean, this is now, and I could look at the time, 3:36, telling me that my 25 minutes of fame is almost over here. But this is so powerful. And you can make, so many mistakes in so little time, which is why you should never be able to approve your own scripts. I just did that here for demo purposes. And that is a setting. So that is a setting here when you look at your hierarchy settings. So when I go in and open the hierarchy settings, in here, the default behavior here is do not allow scripts authors to approve their own scripts. Yeah, so that was a quick intro to some of the new features that I'm pretty sure will change the way that you manage your clients. With that, I'll just hand it over to Wally here. There you go, sir. You should be able to share your screen now.
Oh, helps if I unmute myself, doesn't it? I've been talking there for a moment, so I guess I'll repeat what I said. So thanks, Kent, and that's some great stuff that's coming out and in the last couple of releases, and very cool to see things working in production, and even how much faster we can make fools of ourselves with that fast client notification channel and run scripts or whatever. And yes, management does like to see a lot of green in dashboards and reports, not all that red. So very cool stuff. Thanks, Kent. Appreciate that. And I didn't see any questions in the Q&A panel, so it looks like they understood everything you're talking about. So very good. All right, so for the last bit of time we have, what I want to do is talk about a new product that Cireson has. And before I'll do that, I'll just take a moment to introduce who Cireson is if you're not familiar with this. We started as a software and services company about 6 years ago, doing consulting on System Center products, primarily around Service Manager. And we found a lot of usability gaps in the Service Manager space. So we started creating some little apps to help resolve some of those issues, and found out customers really like those apps. So we got a lot more into the software business, which is that in that first little bullet in the lower left, service management. Applications we've created to help make Service Manager function better from an administrator perspective, analyst perspective, as well as from the end users. We found, as obviously in System Center, there's Configuration Manager is the biggest part of System Center, and we all know that Configuration Manager has just a ton of data available to it, but it doesn't always allow you to do a lot of great asset management around that data. Yeah, you can see reports and your inventory data and Resource Explorer and so on, but you can't really do a lot of financial or business or contractual or warranty and stuff with that. So we wrote an asset management product that would take that data from Configuration Manager, put it into a Service Manager database, and then allow you to manage that your assets, hardware and software assets, with true lifecycle management. And we're extending that out to a product that will be coming out early next year that won't even require Service Manager. It'll be a self-contained product, but still pull the data from Configuration Manager. We obviously still do have consulting services for working on our own technologies if our partners like CT Global need some assistance. But now what we're talking about is Configuration Manager. We have 4 free apps that you can download and implement in your environment. Our Remote Manage app and our Ticker apps are 2 very, very popular apps. But what I'm going to talk about today is our new web-based portal that we have. So we got, I think it's now 65 countries where we have over 1,200 customers globally, a lot of consulting hours and licensed end users, and we're really proud of our renewal rate. So 99% of our customers wind up renewing their technologies with us, and those that don't are primarily ones that decide to adopt another service desk platform other than Service Manager. Okay, so what we're talking about for this session right now is the Configuration Manager portal, or is the short name for it, but it's a Cireson portal for Configuration Manager. So what we wanted to do is make your work life easier. So we all know that Configuration Manager has a ton of data available to it, but it's a platform that you have to go ahead and install locally. So you have a console that you need to have access to. And that console, you're tied to an installation, or you have to RDP into a session where you can get access to the console. So we made a web-based experience that we think is much more intuitive and easier to get your job done than you would have in the native Configuration Manager console. And I'll show you that momentarily when I get into the demo. There's a lot of great data in Configuration Manager, but sometimes the data can be overwhelming. Think of the scenario where you have a service desk technician that's using Configuration Manager and they want to troubleshoot an end user's computer and they have to go to Resource Explorer. You guys have all seen Resource Explorer, and you know the difficulties in navigating and finding the information you're looking for in Resource Explorer until you get very comfortable with it and you know exactly where you're going. There's just a ton of data there. So what we've done is we've taken Resource Explorer and basically cut it down to the top 24 or so, a couple dozen attributes that we think are important for a service desk technician to get their job done. So trying to take data that's useful and making it available to the IT staff that needs it much more simply and easier with configurable security, so you can control who has access to what aspects of the product. Now, we all know Configuration Manager has fantastic features, and that's why I've been with it for 25 years now, close to, and Ken's right behind me in that space. So it's got a lot of great things that it can do, but it isn't always the most easy thing to tackle, whether it's setting up internet-based client management, as Kent was talking about, or particularly in our area, we enhance some of those tasks that you can do in Configuration Manager. For example, you guys all create software. You create packages, you create applications, you create operating system deployment task sequences, and you know in Configuration Manager, there's this wizard you have to walk through every single time you do this process. And if you forget to set one of those options that you need to for your environment, then guess what? Things don't work the way you expect them to work. So we let you create templates. Templates are preset, very much like XML settings that you can go ahead and load when you're creating or deploying software that will set all those values for you. Your data source or your distribution settings, or do you want peer cache or client sharing turned on, or do you want this to be a required deployment versus a available deployment, and so on. And you'll see some of those coming up. So trying to make things easier for you. For those of you that utilize Configuration Manager for deploying your Windows images, which the vast majority of people do, if you want an end user front end or an IT staff front end for OSD instead of relying on just a normal Pixie boot and trying to pick a task sequence from the screen or very complicated task sequences and so on, we have a solution called Commence, which is really designed for the OSD bare metal solution, but it can also reinstall OSs and so on. But it's a configurable front end that allows you to make available to your IT staff what task sequences, what operating systems, what OUs, what MDT roles that they should be available for that staff person, and walk you through very simply and easily a user interface to gain access to that operating system deployment process. And dashboards and reports. Kent showed you 7 reports there just for the data warehouse, but all in 1706, I think it's pretty close to 500 reports now that are available in Configuration Manager. And nobody wants to try and weed through all those reports to find the one you're looking for. So in our solution, we allow you to go ahead and take a individual report or a set of reports that you want, add them into the Configuration Manager portal, and then set security on them as to who can access them. So when your manager loads the Configuration Manager portal, they go to the reporting node, they see the 4, 5, or 6 reports that they need to do their job, or the service desk technician or whatever. We also have a dashboard that you'll see here in a second that will give you some high-level information right when you start the Configuration Manager portal. Okay, personas. We really target the middle personas there, your service desk analysts, those people that need to use some of the features of Configuration Manager, but they don't need to live in the Configuration Manager console all day long. We're not a one-to-one replacement of the Configuration Manager console. We don't have all the features that are there. Some of that stuff Kent was showing you, we can't do that in the Configuration Manager portal. But what you can do is very easily view computers, view users, view software, view the inventory of computers, distribute software to computers or users, create OSD task sequences and deploy them. So create and deploy your software to users and to your computers. So that's great for the service desk analysts, for the desktop and server support teams. Management, if they need to have access, you can give them, again, the CMP, as we call it, and give them access to the reports node. And users will be happier because they're getting faster resolution on their issues, because it's easier for the service desk analyst to find that data. They say, oh yeah, your problem is you don't have enough memory, so you can't run this application, or you don't have enough disk space, or you need some software. It's very easy for your technician to go ahead and deploy that software. So let's go ahead and jump on in and show you that. So let me go over to my demo environment. And that's our native Configuration Manager console, which you guys are all familiar with. I'm going to go ahead and load, I'll just load the as an analyst or the administrator, just so you see the full effect of everything you have access to. So here's the dashboard to give you some high-level data, number of computers in Config Manager, number of users found, what my client health rate is, what my client activity rate is, some dashboards as to client status, what operating systems I have available to me in my environment, what my deployment status is. So here I can see right now I've got one deployment in an error state. I want to go look at that. So I know I need the red, we all know is bad, so I want to look at the red stuff. And same thing in patch status, what I have. On the far left-hand side is where I can go and I can look at my computers and manage my computers and users and software, task sequences. I can see deployment status. I can look at my MDT roles or administer those. I can look at reports and an internal eventing system. Down at the very bottom, covered it by the hyperlink, is our new drawer. So new lets me create and register new computers, or deploy software, or create new software applications packages, create task sequences, create MDT roles. And in the upper right will be our settings if you have available access to those settings. So this is where I configure my security, who can access which of those nodes, who can create new objects, who can set any settings for security or for Configuration Manager, reporting services, and so on. So with that, I'm just going to go ahead, and since we're short on time, I'm going to go ahead and launch in as a service desk type user. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll leave this portal running as an administrator, but I'll go ahead and load Google Chrome, which we do support as well. I'm going to go ahead and go to our portal, which is an IIS website. I'm going to log in as user 1, who is my service desk analyst. And you'll see that through the security settings, that this user does not have the same access as my previous administrator does. I did give them access to the dashboard, so I did want to do that. So they can say, oh yeah, our client health rate or our client activity rate is good. So that may not be an issue, but I didn't give them access to, for example, reports or task sequences or MDT roles. There's no new button down at the bottom, so we can't create any new objects. So the scenario here might be that I'm going to go to computer. So I'm a service desk analyst, and Wally calls in and says, hey, I saw somebody had this piece of software and I want it. I can't find it on my computer. So I asked Wally, hey, Wally, what's your computer name? I don't know. It's on my normal computer. I said, I don't know what the name is. So instead of me trying to explain to him how to go find that computer name, I just go to Find Computers By, and I type in Wally, and there's Wally, and I click on it, and it immediately tells me what computer that I have a UDA, user device affinity relationship with. And by the way, you notice this is only workstations that I have access to. I don't see servers. If I just kick back over to my full console and go to computers, you'll see that I have, in the standard view, I have computers, workstations, as well as servers. But I've scoped down or limited my support desk to just workstation computers. So anyway, I find that Wally's computer is client 7. I can look down at the bottom. It tells me, yeah, you're a healthy client. You last checked in earlier today, so you're good to go. Let's go see if that software is on your computer. And well, I just didn't know where to find it. So I go look at Add Remove Programs, and no, Zoomit's not there. Let's look at deployments. Is the Zoomit deployed? Nope, you're not targeted with Zoomit. So let's see if your computer can support it. So now we're going to go to Inventory Summary. But note, if you notice at the right-click actions, some of them are available, like Inventory Summary, User Device Affinity. Some of them are not available. I've not given the help desk technician the ability of deploying software, or reinstalling the OS, or doing cloning and clearing of computers and so on. So I get to control those features. So let's go look at Inventory Summary and see if your computer supports this application. So I can see when it last did its hardware scan was yesterday, so that's going to be current. It last checked in. It's OU, it's primary users. That's all good. Now hardware, it's been up for 63 minutes. It's a virtual machine. The CPU supports the application. You got enough disk space. You got enough memory. Your operating system's all good to go. Okay, hardware-wise, you're good. Well, let's just go verify that you don't have a service that I know causes conflicts with Zoomit. So here I go to the software tab, and I can see my software installed and available and so on. But I can look at my services that are running and verify that, nope, you don't have that service that I know causes a problem with Zoomit, a video problem. So, okay, we're good. Network would just let me see my network adapter configuration. The client tab will let me see my patch status. So updates are available. Yeah, Wally, you got a lot of updates you need to deploy. And what updates are already applied, and what collections you're in. Okay, so I'm good to go. I know that the software is not there. It's not targeted. The hardware supports it. So let me go ahead and do a deployment of that software. But again, as I showed you in my right-click scenario, I didn't give this service desk technician the ability of deploying software. So I can control that very, very easily. But just to, so I'll go ahead and let me go ahead and close out Chrome, and I'll go ahead and load it up again, and I'll now go to like a level 2 person. So maybe you do allow your level 2, or maybe it's your first level support can do this. So I'll log in as user 2, and if I typed in the correct password, we'll see that this person has a different set of access. I didn't give them access to the dashboard, but I had the same look at workstations, users, software. But now I have task sequences, MDT roles, reports, and I can create new computers. I can create software deployments. Then create task sequences. So the ticket gets escalated to me. I know it's client 7, so I go to client 7. I do a right click. I now have deploy software. We have 2 different ways of deploying software. Let me go ahead and show you the simple way, the fast, easy way. So I'll go to quick software deployment, and most likely I would only give my help desk access to quick software deployment. I wouldn't give them the standard software deployment. So here's our wizard. So think about the process of deploying software in Configuration Manager. So here's all my available software. Shows me applications, packages that I have access to. And I wanted Zoomit, so I go ahead and filter on Zoomit. There it is. So I go ahead and pick that. It tells me it's a package. Down on the bottom, it tells me that I have one software selected. I have a max allowed 1. We actually allow you by default to batch multiple pieces of software and deploy in one wizard. So I could take 3 applications or 5 different packages, hopefully not multiple task sequences, and deploy them with one action. And you think about Configuration Manager, it's a one-off. I pick my software, I do a deployment. Pick another piece of software, I do my deployment. Now in this case, I limited this person to only 1, so it won't let me add more than 1. Go to next. Now I don't have to pick a collection. in this quick software deployment, we automatically figure out the collection to deploy to. So we're looking for a collection of that software. If there's already a collection for sysinternals, zoom it with the install action on it, then we're going to go ahead and add this computer, which you can see right now it already says client 7 on there because I was right-clicked on it when I did deploy software, to that collection. And you can see down at the bottom as well, if I do have to add resource to a collection, I'm only allowing this person to add one at a time. I can't add 2 computers or 2 users, whatever's appropriate. But you can go ahead and have deployment scopes, which deployment scopes are very much like configuration manager queries. And so you can see this person only has access to workstations, not servers. I could also browse a configuration manager query. So I want to go to like all systems. But again, since I only have access to workstations, it won't show me any of my server computers. I could even import from a data file if I want to, the computers that I want to be able to deploy to. But I'll just go ahead and take client 7 again, add him in. And then the deployment process is very simple. I just load a deployment template, and a deployment template again sets all those values for me for, in this case, a package. And I get to set the schedule and when I want this software to be available to the end user. I can initiate the configuration manager fast client notification channel if I want to, and that will go ahead and push this policy down to the client right away. So that's how simple it is to deploy software. I pick my software, pick my resource, and load a deployment template, and it's done. Well, just for reference, let me go ahead and just show you the full software deployment to show you a couple of those things that I didn't have access to earlier with the quick. So if I take that same software, there's zoom it. Now on the full software deployment, it shows me my collections. But notice that in this case, it doesn't show me the built-in collections like all systems or all desktop and server clients. Not many of you want to allow deployments to those 2 collections. You always want to go to a custom collection. So by default for non-global administrators, just like Kent could approve his own scripts, if you're not a global administrator, you can't deploy to the built-in collections. But if I go to my IE session when I'm logged into the full administrator, I'd see all users and user groups. I'd see the all systems and all desktop and server clients collection. But here's that option that we're doing with the other one. We're automatically creating collection on demand. But if I don't do that, I can go ahead and click my collection. And now if I go to my deployments tab, here you see these are all these settings that you have in the configuration manager wizard. Let me just go ahead and load that template, but notice that there's nothing set here. It's an available setting. If I go to user experience, nothing selected. Distribution points, nothing selected. Now let me go ahead and load a template, that same template we looked at before. And now you can see it's pre-enabling the data sharing. So allowing clients to share on the same subnet. User experience, it's allowing you to run programs independently of assignments. Deployment settings, it's pre-deploying to the user's primary device. So all those are settings that were set in that template. And you can create templates for creating software as well as deploying software and controlling which members of the IT staff or whoever you're allowing to have access to the CMP, what they have access to. So very, very easy to go through that process. And you can go back up in the wizard if you want to. A couple of things you can do real quick because I know we're just about out of time. Let's say I want to verify that client 7 is running, so I need to go look at the log files or something. So I can go and right click, go to external tools, I can do a ping. And ping should go ahead and launch off, and there's the ping. And yes, it goes ahead and tells me that the computer's running. So now I want to go ahead and I want to gain access to config-man client log files, for example. You can launch off that tool that we have called Remote Manage. And this should go ahead and kick off Remote Manage for me. If I did do that correctly, let me try that again, since I'm not seeing that launch off. There we go. I closed that too soon. And this is connected to my client, and now I've got the option here to open config-man client log files share. So to go ahead and open up the share to where the config-man log files are, or I can go look at processes, look at what's in Software Center. I can see all the PowerShell commands that we're running to get access to that client computer and all the data we pulled off. And there's the client log file location. So a lot of great capabilities here. Let me just go ahead and load one more persona real quick just to show you. So I'll just go ahead and kill this. Let me go ahead and I'll load Chrome again. And this time I'll load just to show you something different, and then we'll end our time. I'm going to load a different persona. This is my packager. And notice when the packager loads his session, he doesn't have access to any navigation items, so he can't view any existing objects. All I gave him access to is new. So he can go new, software, and I'm going to go ahead and create an application. So I want to make Google Chrome available to everybody. So it's not currently software in our system, although I have it loaded on my computer. So I'm going to go ahead and select my source file. I'm going to go to Drive C. I'm going to go down to Stuff. And there is Google Chrome MSI. I'm going to load it. It's an MSI. You can see we're reading from it. We detected it's a Windows installer application. Here's the MSI we're going to go to. Now, if I go to General, we pulled some information from that MSI, including the install and uninstall command lines. Notice no distribution point is selected and no requirements are listed. Let me go back and I'll show you those templates. So now if I go and load a workstation application template, notice it now automatically presets my distribution point to distribute my content to. And since I did workstation, that should be member under client DPs. And if I go to requirements, it's got a couple different requirement rules in here. Now let me go back and just swap over to a server application template and to show you that these values change. So I just load the template, appropriate template, and it changes my values. Now my DP is no longer the client DP, but it's the data center DP. And I've got different requirement rules. So I got memory in here along with some server-based OSs. So that very simply allows me to go in there and load this template as I'm loading software, creating software to set my detection methods, set my supersedence, set my dependencies, set my requirement rules, set my distribution settings as I want them to be. I click Finish, and this sends this request to Configuration Manager to have that software created in Config Manager. And then it's available through the Configuration Manager console or back in the Cireson portal for Configuration Manager. We're out of time, so I won't go ahead and load up Commence now, our OSD front end, but our next session that Kent and I are doing is on deploying and managing Windows 10, so I'll go ahead and load that one for you at that point in time. So that's just a real quick little walkthrough of what the Cireson portal for Configuration Manager is. And just to show you here again, here's my, as an admin, here's my full portal, so I have access to all of the different settings here, all the different computers. I had access to all the different users. I can manage user device affinity relationships. So if I go to Wally and go to UDA, it will let me see as well as manage what computers Wally has relationships with. Go ahead and, okay, you should also have in client 10. It should also be added into Wally, and he should not be on primary. So I can go ahead and set those, and that will change those settings inside Configuration Manager. In our deployments node, I'll show you that, and then we're all done. So if you think about Configuration Manager as you're deploying software, and here's this zoom and install that I just created. But if you think about Configuration Manager, when I look at deployments, I have to go to the monitoring workspace, go to the deployments node, I get the list of all the deployments, and let me go show you the list of all of our deployments. And what we do for you is we color code these right away. So I can see that this deployment up here has an error status. That's the one I want to go look at. I don't need to look at the success because I know it's good. I want to look at the color coded ones. We've taken the view status button from each individual deployment and basically expose it into one screen here for you. So you can click on the error, the status. You can click on the software, the collection, or any of these individual attributes here as far as numbers for the status for those, and that will drill in then to give you more information. And then I guess I should just show you, click on reports and just show you that by default, you don't have all those reports. You only have those reports that you need to have access to. And here's only 5 reports that I've loaded. And I just right click a report and I go to permissions and designate who has rights to that report. So I can see desktop support does, but help desk would not be able to see that report. Server support can. So very, very easy. So when one of those personas would load the reports node, they would only see the reports you gave them access to. So very, very cool. All right, with that, let's go ahead and kick back over and finish off this guy and go to any questions you guys have. We should be here. And so we're basically at Q&A time. So at this point in time, if you guys have any questions, it's time to go ahead and ask those if you haven't already. Let me go ahead and pop out the Q&A panel. Okay, so Mark is asking a question. I see that the portal is open in IE and Chrome. Is Edge supported? Yes, it is. So we support the three primary browsers, IE 11 and later, Microsoft Edge, as well as Google Chrome. It may work in some other browsers, but those are the browsers that we are testing and officially supporting. But yeah, so any of those browsers, including Edge. I use Edge on my laptop, but my image was an old image. If I had loaded up my Windows 10 image, then I would have been using Edge for that. So yes, great question. So, and you'll see more about the Cireson Portal for Configuration Manager in the next couple of sessions that Kent and I have. So the next one is on, again, Windows 10 deployment, and the last one will be on software distribution best practices. So with that, any other questions you guys have? So again, this session is being recorded. I'll stop the recording here when we're done with our Q&A session. We'll get it posted up to our Vimeo channel, which again is http vimeo.com/Team Cireson, and you'll be able to see this up there and review it and go through the demos. Maybe go slower if you want to pause us there at times. Fast forward through our little issue that we had earlier with the sharing on Kent's side. But so thanks for your comments, Thomas. Hopefully you did find it worthwhile, and you'll come back for the next two sessions that we have. If you've not registered, feel free to go ahead and do that. If you can't make it, go ahead and register, and then we'll send you an email, let you know when this session recording is up and get going to view those offline. So with that, we're 6 minutes over. Kent, do you have any parting words you wanted to offer?
Nope, I'm all good. I learned my lesson, so I'll stick to Chrome next time.
With that said, like I said, when I always do these, I use Edge all the time on my environment. So,
yeah.
Okay. Alberto asked,
yeah.
Will CMP provide in the future a kind of end user software self-provisioning portal, just like HTML5 technology, just like the official SCCM catalog, for example? And that's a great question. Yeah, we have a product we're working on. It's called Software Order. And you guys all know Software Center in Configuration Manager, which is the primary end user interface now. They're kind of getting rid of the application catalog, which is the web-based solution they had. We're going to have a solution called Software Order coming early next calendar year that will give you a web-based software ordering solution. So it'll be some of the features that you've seen in Software Center, some of those capabilities, a little bit of the application catalog, but it's going to be more if you're a mobile device person and you've done any work with Microsoft Intune and seen the company portal applications, much more of a look and feel like that with the big tiles. Click on a tile, gives you great information. We're actually going to eventually have rating systems in there and publishing favorites, letting you pick bundled applications, as well as individual applications and so on. So yes, great question, Alberto. We have that coming. It's not available yet. We keep enhancing this product as we get customer requests and get feedback from our customers. And that is a common request. So yes, we are working on that actively right now. So it's in the design phases. They're working on the UI. I've seen some screenshots. It looks fantastic. But it won't be ready till sometime in. I said early next year. I should not state that. I don't know exactly what the time frame is. I've heard that, but software game things can always be a little bit delayed. So I'll say sometime next year, probably in the first half. But thanks for asking that question. So. All right, guys, I'll hang out for a few more minutes if anybody has any additional questions, but I know we're past our official ending time. It's late in the afternoon for you guys over in Europe. Thank you, Kent, for presenting with us. I appreciate that. And I know he'll be back for the next two sessions that we have scheduled for, I think it's October 4th and 12th or something like that are those dates, but you can find them on our website. If you want to see more information on the Cireson Portal for Configuration Manager, just go to cireson.com and it's the front page there, and you can click on Get More Info. You can try it out yourself. You can download a free version of it, get a trial version, or either even an Azure environment you can play around with. So with that, thank you guys for your time, and hopefully you found it worthwhile and interesting. Cool stuff about Configuration Manager is it keeps evolving, and then some stuff we're providing to try and extend your Configuration Manager reach to other people outside your core administrative staff. So with that, thanks all, and you guys have a great rest of your day. And we'll get the recording posted up there again in the next day or so up on the Vimeo channel. So thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Have a good day.